Welcome into Palmetto Sports Daily. We have a lot to talk about, especially with college football. Week 1 kicking off this weekend. I'm Carmine Jamay right here in Greenville. We have Rick Henry in the state capital of Columbia, and we have Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston. And Rick, we had a very intense discussion about the engagement heard around the world between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, maybe the biggest sports news of all time. And the Swifties tried to silence your microphone. We had some technical difficulties. There was something in the atmosphere, maybe some Swiftie stardust raining down. How are you feeling? Have you gotten any backlash from the Swifties, first and foremost?
Yeah, well, first of all, I will not be silenced on this matter. It will not work. And, as a matter of fact.
Yesterday.
Oh, yeah. There's some underhanded things going on, but I've got my people working on it. And, I've heard from some people who didn't like what I had to say. And then, I have a whole army of supporters who are right in line with me. So, yeah, I'm riding high.
Okay, great. So we have a battle going on between the Swifties and the Henrys. And by the way, if you didn't watch that episode, check it out on Palmetto Sports, on our website, our app, or on podcasts. That was quite the debate, maybe our best yet in the existence of this show. But guys, let's get to that college football because we have a huge matchup, of course, for Clemson, huge for South Carolina as well. But for Clemson, it's a top 10 matchup between the other Tigers from LSU. Clemson ranked 4th in the country, LSU ranked 9th in the country. Earlier this week, we heard from head coach Dabo Swinney about the childlike joy he still has for opening day. Let's hear from the other side, LSU head coach Brian Kelly, about what Clemson brings to the table in this top 10 matchup.
I know Coach very well. 13 seasons at 10 wins. They're the epitome of consistency at the highest level. I think everybody talks about their defensive players in particular, but offensively, Cade Klubnik is, I think, a quarterback that played his best ball at the end of the year, and is a dual threat. 3 seasons as a starting quarterback, we've made a lot of that in terms of how important it is to come back for a second year. He's coming back for his 3rd year, which I think says a lot about him. Peter Woods, obviously a guy that we're going to have to deal with inside. Parker off the edge is going to require a lot of attention, or they're going to ruin your day. Offensively, I obviously mentioned Cade, who we have a lot of respect for, but a veteran offensive line coming back, playmakers on the outside. Williams and Wesco are outstanding receivers. So you guys already know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. This is going to be a great challenge, one that we're excited about, one that we're up for. Any goal that you put out there, it's not worthwhile unless it's a challenge. And so this will be a great challenge that our kids are excited about.
And it definitely will be a challenge for both Tigers, both Death Valleys. But I'm interested, Kevin, I believe Clemson is a 3.5 or 4-point favorite. Where do you see this one going? And just some early thoughts about this matchup before it takes place on Saturday night.
Yeah, you're right. Clemson is the favorite by a slight margin. I believe 3.5 is right. The last thing I saw going into Saturday night. There's so much up in the air on this one. I'm really excited to see the Clemson offense and what Klubnik can do with this plethora of wide receivers he's got going into Saturday night's matchup, and see what he can do with these kind of toys he's got now, and see how much he can spread that ball around, and how much that's going to lead to points for Clemson going up against what should be a solid LSU defense. They put a lot of money into this team as a whole, a lot of that going towards the defense as well. So if Clemson's offense can overcome that, then the Clemson Tigers should pick up on the victory, Rick.
Yeah, the only regret I have about this Clemson-LSU matchup is that I'm not going to be able to attend because Saturday we're leaving to go to Atlanta for South Carolina's season opener against Virginia Tech. I've seen Clemson and LSU play 3, maybe 4 times in the postseason, but never in the regular season. And the fact that this is happening at Death Valley and the way the LSU fans travel and tailgate, if you're going to the game, it's going to be quite a spectacle and probably just one good old party. And then you're going to be treated to what could be one of the best games of opening week and maybe one of the better games of the entire season. So I'm really looking forward to watching that one on Saturday night.
Yeah, great point, guys. Great point. And we'll get more into a little of the history between LSU and Clemson probably tomorrow. But, you know, the last time these two teams played was technically in 2020, but it was the 2019 season, both undefeated coming into the national championship, and Joe Burrow and LSU beating Trevor Lawrence and Clemson in that one. So a little bit of revenge. But a very strange story coming out for Clemson football, guys, on Sunday night. There was a post on a local blog website that covers the Tigers where somebody put on there, "My brother's a first responder near the university, and about 30 minutes ago, someone T-boned a car at an intersection, and my brother just told me that car belongs to Cade Klubnik inside the car that got T-boned." So this was a scary thing to hear about, honestly, on Sunday night. I mean, your superstar quarterback coming back for his third season, getting ready for a top 10 matchup at Clemson, and somebody posting this on a Clemson blog, not affiliated with the school, said that Cade Klubnik was involved in a car crash. Turned out that was completely false, completely a hoax, and just a ridiculous thing to put out there and unnecessarily scare Clemson fans, of course, but also the family, friends, and loved ones of Cade Klubnik. Cade was asked about these rumors, of course, being false in yesterday's press conference, and here's his response about how his family felt about hearing that fake news. And we're hoping to get to that soundbite from Cade in just a moment. The soundbite, if hopefully we can cue it up, talks about the reaction of Cade's mother. I mean, I can't even imagine what that was like. And then all the Tigers fans who have grown to love and care about Cade, his contribution in the community as well, just a great face and representation of college football. So not sure if we're not going to get to that soundbite, but basically Cade was saying that his mother burst out in tears hearing that news when she called Cade after people had contacted her, and thankfully her son was there completely healthy to reassure her he was fine. But Kevin, your reaction to somebody so irresponsibly putting out this ridiculous post and scaring people?
Yeah, I don't get what the point is. Like, what are you trying to accomplish if you're an LSU fan putting this out there? I mean, obviously Klubnik was fine. There was no car accident, like we said. He's going to be good to go on Saturday. I don't see the point of that. You know, I can see if you're, you know, it's all wrong if you're putting lies like this on chat sites and on the fan pages and stuff like that. But there's times I can see what the point is to get under the skin of the fans or to hopefully make coaches, you know, think they've got to do something else to prepare for the team you're playing. But this just doesn't make any sense on any level. I just don't see what the point is and what they were hoping to accomplish putting this kind of false story up, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing funny about this at all. I hope the person who's responsible, I don't know, do we know who's responsible for this? Because there needs to be some type of punishment. Look, Carmine, you talked about Cade's mother bursting out in tears. What if, you know, people, when they hear about their loved ones, and especially when you're talking about parents, it could have rushed out, gotten into her car because it's like, hey, I've got to get there, and get into a wreck, hurt herself or someone else. And then some people, they're affected physically and could suffer a heart attack. I mean, it's just not funny. And like Kevin said, I just don't get it. Some people are so irresponsible. But again, there needs to be some type of punishment. We just can't have mess like this going on because you're talking about people's lives, really.
Right, and it was great that the way Cade addressed it, unfortunately we won't be able to hear it, but just to sum up, put a bow on this story. At the end of his comments, he said, shame on them for putting that out there. So I'm glad he addressed it head on. And then he said, but whatever, you know, that doesn't concern me. I'm fully healthy, ready to go this weekend. So he's totally focused. And Rick, actually, we'll be right back after a short break where we get into a Gamecocks player who's also finally ready to go, reinstated by the NCAA after this short break.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. In this segment, we're going to talk some South Carolina football. The Gamecocks kick off the season Sunday, 3 p.m. in Atlanta against Virginia Tech. That's Shane Beamer's alma mater. Should be a great matchup there. But the Gamecocks received some good news on Monday. 6 days before that season opener, running back Rasul Faison granted a 7th year of eligibility by the NCAA. Now, his first 3 years, he didn't play 1 second of football, and the last 2 years, he was at Utah State, where he rushed for a combined total of 1,800 yards. So he's going to be a good weapon in the backfield for Shane Beamer. Now, here's Shane Beamer talking about the moment when he called Faison to tell him that he was finally eligible.
He was at home already in the afternoon, so I FaceTimed him and told him, and that was a pretty cool moment that I won't forget, just seeing the joy in his face, and all he kept saying was just thank you, thank you, thank you, because he's so appreciative for the opportunity. He came and saw me yesterday just to thank me again as well, which is awesome. So that was a really special moment and a lot of emotions.
Yeah, it was a lot of ups and downs for sure, but for the most part, I was in good spirits through it all because I've been here with my teammates, my coaches, Coach Beamer, Coach Black, and then obviously my family. They played a major part. So people around me just kept me high, and then I've been through worse. So I felt like I had faith that it would happen and the NCAA would do the right thing. So I'm just blessed that they granted me an extra year.
Now, Coach Beamer is not releasing a depth chart in advance of that season opener, so we don't know if Faison is going to be number 1, number 2, number 3 on the depth chart. We will find out 28 minutes before kickoff because that's when the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense will get together in pregame warmups. Okay, Luke Doty, he is back for his 6th year as a Gamecock, the quarterback from Myrtle Beach. And he's had several different roles playing for USC, a QB, wide receiver. He's also played on special teams. And now he's a mentor to Lenore Sellers, the redshirt sophomore quarterback, listed as a Heisman Trophy candidate, received a lot of accolades last year. But here's Luke talking about the relationship that he has with Lenore and how he helps the younger QB out.
What's been really cool is like just being back in the quarterback room and being able to have kind of the dialogue and conversation, not only out on the field, but in the meetings and stuff, kind of being able to compare like, okay, here's what I'm seeing, here's what you're seeing, like, let's see how we can, what can we come up with based off of whatever, one of us is seeing. And even today at practice, we had a couple looks, and I hang back and take mental reps, and I watch, what happens and his decision making, and I trust his decision making.
Anytime you have a older team, a veteran team, it helps. We had that last year, Rick, with so many guys. This year, we don't have as many older guys. No matter what happens on Sunday or at any point this season, it's not going to be anything that they probably haven't already experienced as a player here, good and bad.
Yeah, Luke Doty has seen a lot. He was there through the whole COVID thing with college athletics. And his 6th year, he is kind of like a coach on the field for Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer, this is only his 5th year as the head coach of South Carolina. Kevin?
Yeah, it's a great move for him. Another SEC matchup, or not matchup, but a stadium we're going to be starting off the season and coming up on Saturday night is out in Nashville at Vanderbilt, and that's where Charleston Southern is going to open their 2025 season. Obviously, a really tough test for Gabe Gardenia and the Buccaneers, especially coming off the way last year ended, losing their last 10 games of the season. Before that came to an end, they just had 1 win on the year. Gardenia talking earlier this week, he knows this is obviously going to be a tough test. He knows the Bucs are going to be big-time underdogs, but he still thinks his team is going to go in and give a big-time fight to an SEC program, a program that's coming off one of their best years in, I don't know, decades after coming off that win over Alabama and a couple of other big wins they got last season. They've got a solid starting returning quarterback next year, and Gabe was saying earlier this week he knows that's going to be a problem.
Our recipe is no different than probably LSU's or Missouri's or anybody's, right? You know you've got to quad rush this guy. The thing that he does so well is that he breaks tackles, and he's like playing a tailback back there. I mean, he's really strong, and he'll run you over if he's got the chance to. And so, and I think the guy really is an elite fade thrower.
So like I said, the Bucs going to be big-time underdogs going to play an SEC program in Vanderbilt coming up on Saturday night. And it doesn't get any easier for them after that first game, as next week they head out to Coastal Carolina for week 2 of the season. We've got more to come here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back in to Palmetto Sports Daily. We talked a lot of college football, but now it's time to talk college and maybe pro basketball, because we talked about this quite extensively during the summer when my New York Knicks, being a New York native, had the head coaching job opening. And we talked about South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball head coach, the 3-time national champ Dawn Staley, being interviewed for the job, or maybe, where she stood, if she was going to get it, if she would leave if she was offered it. Well, she offered up some new information on the Post Move show hosted by her former All-American center, Aaliyah Boston, a national champion, and another legend, Candace Parker. So that was the podcast she was on when she said she interviewed for the Knicks job, same interview that everybody else had in their candidate pool. And had she been offered the job, she would have taken it, which I really appreciate her honesty. I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts. But, how do you not take that job? She said she basically felt like she would have to take that job based on the history she'd be making as the first woman head coach in NBA history. Also, the first African-American woman head coach, because naturally those would come together in NBA history. And she also said that she might have deterred them in her interview process because she said she asked the Knicks management a couple questions. One of those was, have you prepared or planned to deal with all the media circus that will come along with hiring the first woman NBA coach ever in league history? And they kind of, tap danced around it and didn't seem like they were really prepared to handle the media circus that could come with hiring a historical figure and a groundbreaking figure into your NBA franchise. So I actually, and I think, Kevin, you agreed. I'm not sure, Rick, what your stance was at the time when Dawn Staley was in the mix, the discussion for the Knicks head coaching job. But I think a few of us were in agreement saying, of course you would have to take this for the money raise and just the history-making process of it. But, Rick, your thoughts on actually hearing Dawn Staley herself say this on the podcast?
Well, nothing that she said in the podcast surprises me at all. Because, yes, if the Knicks would have offered her the job, she had to take it. Because if you listen to her and the things that she fights for, other than her team, but equality for men and women, especially when you look at how the NCAA handled the women's tournament differently from the men's tournament. She's one of those voices saying, it's not fair. There needs to be equal treatment there. And she advocates for more opportunities for female coaches, minority coaches. And this would have been a really big step for the New York Knicks and the NBA to hire the first female head coach. And the fact that she's also African American. But at the time when this news was out there, I didn't feel like the New York Knicks were serious about it because they have a way of just botching things. And I think they just wanted to distract away from how they were mishandling their whole coaching search. And I'm glad she didn't have to wind up with the New York Knicks because perhaps a better NBA opportunity will come along. Kevin?
Rick, I actually was a little bit surprised with how this came out because Dawn has said before that, there's not a lot of jobs she would leave South Carolina for, but it's always been kind of vague about what she would leave for. This is the first time that I can really remember there was a specific job that she said, if this was offered to me, I would have taken this one. I would have left Columbia and left the Gamecocks to take this job. So it kind of feels like it's a pathway of what would get Dawn Staley to leave South Carolina in the future. Now, it would have to be a special job in the NBA. I don't think just any NBA opening she's going to take at this point. You know, you're talking about a Knicks team that's coming off a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals, one of the Final Four teams alive in the NBA last season. So that seems like it would have to be a team that's ready to win for her to go in there and kind of lead into that next step. Also, you see it right there wearing the Eagles jersey. She's not going to take a New York job because she would never be allowed to wear Eagles jerseys on the sideline again. So that kind of takes that one out right away. But it seems like we know now if she's going to leave South Carolina at some point in the future, this is the kind of job it would be for, Carmine.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And her comments also about, you know, she wouldn't leave for just any job, and she reiterated that on the podcast, The Post Moves with Aaliyah Boston and Candace Parker. She said it wouldn't just be any NBA job either, but the Knicks would, of course, despite what Rick said, would be one of the most desirable jobs in the NBA. Yes, they are dysfunctional, but also the Philadelphia 76ers, you'd have to figure if the Lakers job comes up. But we'll be right back. We have Break Point with Emma Navarro right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We wrap things up today with some tennis talk up in New York. The U.S. Open continuing this week. Emma Navarro picking up a second-round victory yesterday over fellow American Katie McNally. Easily moving on for Navarro, the 10th seed in this tournament, 6-2, 6-1. The really interesting thing, though, came after the match in her post-game press conference when Navarro talked about the struggles she's kind of had this year. Remember last year, she had an amazing season, especially in the majors, reaching at least the quarterfinals of all four of the majors. She's really struggled this year in major play, though, until this U.S. Open, where she's now in the third round. She'll be in action tomorrow. And Navarro talked about the mental headspace she's been in and how this match and this play has really helped her realize she is one of the best players in the world, and she does deserve to be making these runs in the majors. So good luck to her tomorrow. She's going to be in action against Barbara Krejcikova in the third round at the U.S. Open. We'll have more on that coming up on Monday. That's going to do it for Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.